Hey, this is Peter in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and what I want to talk to you about today is how dare you make a film about a place without doing the proper research. So for me, this means you need to spend at least a month, 2 months, you need to come down to the locations every single day and do the proper research. Which means walking around, maybe sometimes in character, maybe a bit of method directing, and actually get acclimatized to your situation and to your location. So even from one street to the next, say in like a capital city or a very busy city, you are going to experience a different life from, say, Broad Street in Philadelphia to Walnut Street to, even just one street away, you're looking at a problem in terms of how you're going to make a film about that place when you don't know anything about it. What I'm talking about the type of food that people eat. I don't know what food people eat here. I don't know what kind of political problems are going on here, or maybe racial problems are going on here. I don't know that at all. I don't know any kind of statistics, and it's not enough to just look on Wikipedia about a page full of facts and figures. You have to go and actually experience the place for yourself and understand and feel it. It's like in Good Will Hunting, that idea of, you can tell me so many facts about a place, but have you ever actually experienced it? Have you ever gone down those streets and let it sink in sometimes? Sometimes you can stay up to 2 a.m. just walking around, getting to know people, or just sometimes you don't even need to get to know people. If you're making a kind of insular film, maybe it's best to do the method directing in an insular way. And then kind of you accumulate all that research, and then you have it maybe on a corkboard or maybe on notes, and you put it all together, and that's when you write the script. That's when you go through your dreams and memories and put them all together and actually put the pen to paper or typewriter or final draft, whatever, and then actually come up with ideas which are going to stay in your final film. And these ideas aren't going to be corny, they aren't going to be, your original script. They're going to have changed because it's a process, and you need to go through all those processes in order to actually get to some kind of good enough idea that meets a certain bar that you've set for yourself. If you're not doing that, you're not actually going to make a good film, whatever you try and do, in my opinion. There are people who probably prove me wrong with this because they're such fantastic writers. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those writers, so I have to do things this way. I have to do things the hard way. You can do things whatever way you want. For me, method directing is a great way of doing it. You get to know the costumes, you get to know the type of people, the attitudes, as I say, the textures of a location, and understand what textures are common and what textures aren't so common, what sounds you can record. So you'll maybe want to go around at 2 a.m. recording sounds onto a Marantz or whatever audio recorder you have, and just capture that sound, take it back, take it to the score composer, get the score composer to watch videos so that they understand ideas of these locations, just so everything sinks in, so that you're able to come up with some kind of decent, realistic, authentic portrayal of a place, so that you get a certain style comes up from that. That's your style. You don't have to be an auteur and imprint your style on a place. You can just let the place soak into you, and there's the style. That's where it comes in. So for example, Richard Linklater walked around Philadelphia at night with a girl, and that became the model for Before Sunrise. So he probably did walk down these streets, and then, funnily enough, he then transposed that to Vienna. Now, I don't exactly know why that is, but what I do know is that, having been to Vienna, it is a lovely city, so is Philadelphia, and they are very different to each other. Of course they are. They're, first of all, then in different countries, but Baltimore's different to Philadelphia, Philadelphia is different to New York, and you're going to get different feelings, a different kind of feel from those places, atmosphere from those places. Sometimes it comes down to just the lighting, and that can be enough to maybe have an imprint on an audience. When you see kind of Hollywood sets and you know, like the Friends set, for example, and or like the lots that they have on the backlots in Hollywood, you get a sense that there's no life to it, that there's no texture to it, no detail. And like, would Andrei Tarkovsky have shot there? Well, if you think he's pretentious like some people do, I don't personally, but you can understand how a lot of people might think that David Lynch, are quite pretentious, you know, but if you take someone like Martin Scorsese shooting authentically in New York, it makes sense to get out in the street, to get the cars whizzing by you, the real cars, not the actors, and, you know, do things that way. So it's a little bit more, because you've got one opportunity to show the truth on screen. Are you going to waste it? Are you going to, you know, shoot on a lot and therefore come up with something fake? Or are you going to come up with a character which is authentic? A lot of people talk about the character of a city, you know, influencing their films, and that's, you know, one thing. It can become a bit too much for some people, I understand, because, oh wow, the city was a character in your film. But when you work this way, it really is. When you work this way, it really becomes something which is not just a character, but you're building the atmosphere around you, around your actors, so that when this area is in the background, it actually comes across as, you know, an added element, the content to the film. I mean, a lot of people think Goodfellas is such an amazing film, and it is, but to me at least. But if you think about the background location to that film, it's very kind of, you could call it bland, you could call it a kind of nothing place in a way, even though it's like outside New York, a little bit outside New York. You could actually say that, I don't know, that these places, these locations in the film are kind of anyone's house, anyone's kind of driveway or area, and that they really, you know, compared to a film like Mean Streets, which is inner city Manhattan, kind of Little Italy area, this also applies to character as well. So if you've got characters, if you've got actors already on your project and you're trying to acclimatize them to the area, take them around the streets, get them involved in the atmosphere of the world. They may not even understand it themselves, what you're showing them, why it matters so much, but it's something subconscious. It sinks in to your psyche, and then when you're making the film, it's almost like you just know what the right and the wrong things are to do. It just, you know, inherently I know what not to include or what to include. So when you take your actors around a town, they're going to know that as well, and they're going to think, why is he taking me on a walking hot seat around a town, doing scenarios out here in the freezing cold? We could do this in a room with a script in a nice comfy room where I can really do my work. But, you know, the work is one thing, but actually understanding something is another thing. Actually living a life is something else, you know, book smart, street smart. Now, if you want to see a lot more of these videos, if you want to see my topics ranging from character to cinematic language to atmosphere to sound to score composition to anything from the philosophy of filmmaking, from just films that you maybe should be watching, I go through all these topics like really in depth quite a lot of the time, and you know, what I'm trying to do is build this kind of like full curriculum of different topics which can be really explored and really kind of, as time goes on, just kind of, you know, mastered and dissecting each film one by one, including my own work, including the stuff that's going forward on my own journey. So, you know, if you guys are going on a similar kind of journey and you need someone to follow and to kind of work along with and to kind of be a kind of mentor figure for that, then I realise I'm just inviting myself to be your mentor, but, you know, this is what I'm planning to do. for that, I'm going to need some money. I'm going to need to be able to fund going out to places like this. I'm going to need to be able to fund making my films, and this is what I want to do for a full-time job. This is, honestly, I love doing this. So, if you want to give some money and actually get access to these videos, I went to Boston, I went to New York, I went to Philadelphia, I've been to Vienna, I've been to Prague, I went to all these fancy places. But the reason why I went to these fancy places is because for a start, I wanted to go on a holiday, but I also had to teach there. I had to show you guys absolutely that I am dead serious about this, not just as like a, this is how you set up a camera, this is how you want to be, using the triangle of exposure and all this, and whilst all of these technical things are important, and almost, cinematic language to like a mid shot, medium shot, long shot is important, 3-act structure is important, right? But the fact is that, a film can be open-ended, so what the fuck is a 3-act structure? The fact is you can do whatever the fuck you like, really. It's just how it's judged in retrospect. Was it good in retrospect? So, is it an artistic piece? And if you guys agree, why don't you join up? Why don't you actually, go down, press the link, and, find these videos, pay for them, and get access to them. And I'll really appreciate that, and I'll be able to make more of them, and I'll be able to, fund doing them maybe at a higher production value. Maybe I'll get like, some kind of shots of films going on in the corner at the time as well, and that'd be really cool to be able to dissect films as I'm talking about them, maybe. And we shall see where we end up. But the only way I'm going to be able to do that is if I get a little bit of support, and you guys are going to get some great content because of it, because I will just not stop talking about film, and the stuff I have to talk about, the philosophy, the depth that I want to go to in this is like, I'm going into my own psychology, let alone, a filmmaker's kind of how far you can go with cinematic language and the philosophy of how you make a film. It's like, is there just one way to make a film, or is there multiple ways, or is that whole there's multiple ways thing a big lie? So click the link, get those bloody classes going, and you start now. We'll both build up our knowledge together. I encourage fucking comments which are gonna talk about this, which are gonna talk about, how we can go a bit further with some of these ideas. I'm working it out the same way you are. I'm learning just as you are, just as Martin Scorsese is still learning now. I want him to be on this channel talking to him about, what the fuck is film doing now? Where do we go from here now that the greats have come and gone, and now the new greats are here? And now we've got digital, and it's all a bit different, but it's still going to the roots of cinematic language and philosophy. It's like, what can we do with this? Where can we go?